Good morning everyone. Basa na tayo ng libro guys. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 05 January 2023. History of the Filipino People Part 3. Reform and Revolution. Topic number 13. The Filipino-American Hostilities. Nandito tayo sa paragraph Assassination of Luna. Basa. Assassination of Luna. Of all the Filipino soldiers of the period, Antonio Luna was the best prepared to fight the American enemy. He was educated in Europe and studied a little of military science and tactics. But nature endowed him with an unruly temper that made men fear and hate him. When the Filipino-American armed clash broke out, he saw the necessity of instilling discipline into the minds of the men, most of whom were peasants or men of no training at all. His plan to recapture Manila was brilliantly conceived, but lack of cooperation from the Kawit Company, who insisted that they took orders only from General Aguinaldo, led to disastrous results. He recommended to Aguinaldo that the Kawit Company be disarmed for military insubordination, but Aguinaldo did not follow his advice. Luna, of course, disciplinarian that he was, resented Aguinaldo's partiality. In several instances during the hostilities, Luna showed his terrible temper. He ordered that houses occupied by the Americans be burned, and another time he ordered the shooting of civilians who violated military rules. More serious, however, was his order to arrest the members of the cabinet who disagreed with him in political matters. He slapped Felipe Buencamino Sr. and accused his son Joaquin of cowardice. Even Mabini, peaceful man, that he was complained against Luna, and even suggested to Aguinaldo that the tempestuous general be replaced. Luna then won many enemies who may or may not have sound reasons to hate him. Early in June 1899, when Luna was at Bayambang, Pangasinan, preparing the defenses for the expected battle with the enemy, he received a telegram asking him to see Aguinaldo at his headquarters in Cabanatuan. Leaving Bayambang with his aide, Colonel Francisco Roman, and some soldiers, he arrived at the convent of Cabanatuan, which served as Aguinaldo's headquarters, early in the afternoon of June 5. One of the guards was a member of Kawit Company, whom Luna had earlier recommended for punishment. He slapped the sentry and went directly upstairs. There he found Buencamino, whom he hated, and heated words were exchanged between the two. Luna was reported to have insulted not only Buencamino but also Aguinaldo, who earlier in the day had gone to San Isidro to inspect the troops. A rifle report was heard, and Luna rushed downstairs to upbraid the soldier who fired the shot. Near the stairs, a group of men belonging to the Kawit Company ganged up on him. Some stabbed him with daggers, while others fired at him. Luna retreated to the street, whipped his pistol, and fired but missed his target. Colonel Roman came to his succor, but he too was mowed down. Luna fell on the convent yard, muttering, "Cowards, assassins." He received no less than 40 wounds. He was buried the next day with honors due his rank. Ulitin ko guys He was buried the next day with honors due his rank, but his assassins were never investigated, nor were they punished for their high crime. American conquest of the Visayas. Meanwhile, Otis instructed General Miller to attack Iloilo. Miller demanded the surrender of the city, but the Filipino patriots, headed by General Martin Delgado, refused and instead decided to fight. Fighting against heavy odds, Delgado ordered the burning of the city to prevent the enemy from using it as a base of operations. On February 20, Haro fell into the hands of the Americans. Santa Barbara fell on the 14th. Oton on the 19th, and Mandorriao on the 28th. Having subdued Iloilo, Miller sent an American warship to Cebu to demand its surrender. On February 22, Cebu surrendered to the Americans, and Lieutenant Colonel Thomas H. Hammer was designated military governor of the province. The occupation of Cebu was, however, not as peaceful as it seemed. Dissatisfied guerrillas murdered the Filipinos who surrendered Cebu without a fight and harassed the American soldiers by guerrilla tactics. The guerrilla leaders Arcadio Maxilom and Leandro Fulion threatened with death all those who collaborated and would collaborate with the enemy. Thus, the Americans had a hard time administering Cebu. Nagalaw. The Negros Constitution, the American occupation of Negros, was easy for the Negrenses sympathized with the Americans and consequently raised the American flag when Iloilo was taken. A committee composed of prominent Negrenses arrived in Manila on February 21 to ask Otis to allow them to arm a battalion for the maintenance of peace and order in the island. Otis, taking advantage of this unusual act of collaboration, granted them the request but informed them that the island would be placed under an American military governor. On March 1, Otis issued an order providing for the creation of a military district composed of Panay, Cebu, and Negros to be known as the Visayan Military District. The Negrenses were allowed to meet in convention to frame their own constitution. This the Negrenses obediently followed, and the so-called Negros Constitution was submitted to the President of the United States on July 20. Naturally, President McKinley did not take it seriously. Nevertheless, the Constitution became the basis to administer its civil matters, under which the people may enjoy the largest measure of civil liberty, compatible with prevailing conditions, and which shall conform to their desire. The Baptist Treaty. The Americans were very diplomatic and cheerful in dealing with the Muslims. In an attempt to win them over, the Americans appointed General John C. Baptist to negotiate a treaty with the Sultan by which the Muslims and the Americans could coexist peacefully. There was therefore no attempt on the part of the Americans to conquer the Muslims, for they knew that they would have a big fight on their hands if they made such an attempt. With consummate skill, General Baptist patiently negotiated with the Sultan of Hulu. The Sultan, knowing his traditional rights and powers, claimed through Raja Muda, his elder brother, and Habib Mora, his secretary, that the Americans should not be allowed to occupy any point in Hulu except the town of Hulu, and that the Sultan should continue to collect duties of points not occupied by the Americans. After a protracted negotiation, General Baptist, representing the United States, and the Sultan Raja Muda, Dato Atik, Dato Kalbi, and Dato Wakanain, representing Holo, signed a treaty on August 20. The treaty, which has been called the Baptist Treaty, provided that the sovereignty of the United States over the whole archipelago of Holo and its dependencies is declared, and acknowledged that the rights and dignities of His Highness the Sultan and his dato shall be fully respected, that the Muslim shall not be interfered with on account of their religion, and that no one shall be persecuted on account of his religious beliefs. On the other hand, the domestic products of the archipelago of Holo, when carried on by the Sultan and his people within any part of the Philippine Islands, and when conducted under the American flag, shall be free, unlimited, and unjudgeable. Moreover, the American government agreed to pay the Sultan and his leading monthly salaries in Mexican dollars. With the conclusion of this treaty, the Americans succeeded in neutralizing the Muslims in their drive to pacify the Christian Filipinos. Dito na lang tayo magtapos sa Aguinaldo. Ayun. Mahaba ba itong pasong Sorry. Nahulog yung cellphone. Hanggang dito na lang muna tayo sa Aguinaldo flees to the mountains. Bukas na yung the Battle of Pasong Tirad. Aguinaldo flees to the mountains. With the assassination of Luna, the bulk of the Filipinos. Ulit guys. Aguinaldo flees to the mountains. With the assassination of Luna, the bulk of the Filipino troops became demoralized. For Luna had some followers in the revolutionary camp. Not long after the bloody incident, many army officers surrendered to the enemy, thus making it difficult for Aguinaldo to maintain his army intact. General Otis, taking advantage of the confusion in the Filipino ranks, decided to trap Aguinaldo in Angeles, Pampanga. He sent battle-seasoned troops to Lingayen Gulf to cut off Aguinaldo's retreat. At the same time, he ordered MacArthur to force Aguinaldo to move north into the waiting arms of the American forces. The American offensive began on October 12, Aguinaldo finding himself in a precarious situation. Moved his capital to Tarlac. When the enemy advanced, he moved his capital to Bayumbong, Nueva Vizcaya. The Americans were now in the dark as to the whereabouts of Aguinaldo, who had in the meantime transferred to Bayumbang, Pangasinan. With the American forces fanning out in all directions to trap him, Aguinaldo decided to flee to the north. With his wife, son, mother, sister, and some members of the cabinet, he boarded the train on the night of November 13, bound for Kalasyaw. May train na lang araw guys. On the night of November 13, bound for Kalasyaw, the Americans followed him in hot pursuit, but Aguinaldo was determined not to be captured and marched through valleys, fields, rivers, and hillsides, day and night, stopping only here and there for brief moments of rest. Once out of reach of the enemy, Aguinaldo, realizing the disadvantage of having women with him, decided to surrender them. On Christmas Day, 1899, the women, escorted by some army officers, were surrendered to the American army. Meanwhile, Aguinaldo, finally rid of the women, continued his march to Tierra Virgen, Cagayan, and on September 6, 1900, reached Polanan, Isabela. It was a place difficult to approach, for the terrain was mountainous, and all points leading to the town were guarded by Aguinaldo's loyal men. So hanggang dyan na lang muna tayo. Bukas na yung the Battle of Pasong Tirad. Bye everyone. God bless.